Good morning. Today is the third day of Kislev, the 16th of November. We're looking at the fifth reading of Toldot, and what we are going to focus on is why does Isaac want to bless Esau? That's a really tough question. I was reading something earlier from Rabbi Sachs, alav shalom, and there's the usual answers from the more, let's call it the more literal side of the Torah. There's all kinds of answers that were given. One of them is the one that I read by Rabbi Sachs. It's a well-known one, that when you have a child that strays from the proper path, the only way to really, well, this was true today, it wasn't true back then, but the only way today to help him is to actually give him more attention, love him more, as they say. This wasn't true 3,000 years ago. 3,000 years ago, people you could educate them. You could use force to get a person in line. It did actually work. There's been a change in human nature over the generations, especially in the last 2-3 generations. And we simply see that today what worked in the past doesn't work. So we have to give a different answer to understand Isaac's behavior. Now, to understand it, first of all, we have to understand what these blessings are. They're not just some kind of blessing. Like every father blesses his children, blesses his wife, maybe these are common things. The blessings that Isaac gives are 10 blessings. We read this. These blessings are so important that we start every week with them. After Shabbat ends, there's another prayer called V'iten Lecha, where we repeat these 10 blessings. And the number 10, we've talked about this in the past, is very important because if you remember, we said that the world started with 10 sayings of creation. God created the world with 10 sayings. And then He gave the Torah with 10 other sayings, really the meaning of dibrot, aseret dibrot, or aseret dvarim, as it appears in the Torah, is 10 things, 10 sayings. What was the difference? The difference was that the 10 sayings of creation concealed godliness in the world, and the 10 sayings of the 10 commandments reveal God in the world. So these are very different. So the operative name of God used in the first story of creation is Elohim. Elohim is nature. It is the language of contraction, of God concealing Himself. And in the 10 commandments, it begins with Anochi Havaya Elokecha. I am Havaya, your God. And the name Havaya is the name of revelation, the name of God's compassion. To move from the 10 sayings of creation, where God is concealed, to the 10 sayings of the 10 commandments, where God is revealed, there are intermediary stages. And the two very important intermediary stages are the blessings and the 10 plagues that God put upon Egypt. We talked about this in the past. We might see it again when we get to the 10 plagues. Here we want to say that these 10 blessings are incredibly powerful, and they are meant to reveal godliness in the world. They're one of the stages. So if creation concealed God, the blessings begin to reveal God, and then the plagues are showing that nature is subservient to God, a necessary stage before revealing godliness itself. What we're getting at is that whomever these blessings are given to is tasked with revealing godliness in the world. That is their purpose. These are not just blessings. You have to think about somebody at the stature of Isaac is not somebody who's passing out candy. When he gives a blessing, he is passing out power. He is passing out a mission. He is passing out, and he is delegating authority over the world. And now we need to ask, why did Isaac think that Esau was a better candidate for revealing godliness than Jacob. So the answer we're going to look at today is that it's very easy to see from their character how different Jacob and Esau were, and why Esau's character is much more similar to Isaac than was Jacob's. Let's look at this. Isaac is considered to be the might, meaning he's the archetypal soul of Gevurah, of might. Everything that Isaac does, as we said, remember from yesterday, the day before also, Isaac is into digging into the world, going into reality, and revealing godliness in reality. That's what he likes to do. Jacob is a man of tense. He's a scholarly person. Scholarly people are not very hands-on usually. In fact, the opposite can be said. A person who is steeped in Torah is usually not cognizant even of the difficulties of material life. They don't live there. And so they don't understand what is it that the material world is fighting, is suffering from. All the more so that they don't understand exactly what it means to reveal godliness in it. I can say it from my own classes. I usually come and say a lot of big words, and people come out and they say, okay, but how does this help me with my bills? And they come and they say, and how does this help me with my physical ailments? How does this help me deal with my relationships? How does this help me? On the face of it, it doesn't. On the face of it, somebody would say, okay, this is just a lot of spiritual knowledge. It has nothing to do with reality. Reality has its own problems. Clearly, you don't understand them. The scholars don't understand them. They're not in it. They're above it. They're too aloof. Or as we say, they sit in an ivory tower. And to a great degree, that is how Isaac saw Jacob. That he is too removed from the difficulties of life. In fact, we find that only when he's 86, when Jacob reaches Haran, in next week's Parsha, does he begin to enter into the world of commerce, into the world of work, into the world of farming, and everything that goes with that, all the difficulties. He marries finally. He finally has children. He has anguish from them, a great deal of anguish from the relationship between Joseph and his brothers. So at this point of their lives, and Isaac, we know, is going to bless them because he feels that his life is coming to an end, even though he's only 122 years old. He passed away at 180. Rashi tells us that from this the sages learned that when a person reaches 5 years from the age at which his parents passed away, he needs to start thinking about putting his affairs in order. Because the natural order of things is that people pass away genetically, simply speaking, within a span of 5 years, either before or after their parents did. Now, if a person has gone over 5 years after their parents' life ended, for instance, it could be someone who died at a young age, 50 or 55 or 60, and you're already 70, so the sages say you have nothing to worry, you don't have the same genes, and so you don't know your lifespan, you don't need to take this into account. But if a parent passed away at 70, from age 65 to age 75, the person is required to think more carefully about how they conduct their affairs, so that if death does come, they're not caught off guard. So that was the reason that Isaac didn't have a choice. He felt he's 122 years old, his mother passed away at 127, we saw that last week, and so he has no choice. He needs to put his affairs in order, and right away he chooses the more material and more endowed child, let's call it, in understanding what needs to be done in the physical world to reveal godliness. Now one would say, but Esau is such a terrible person. Again, we said this is not so clear. When you read the Torah itself, the Torah leaves it up to your judgment. Because we said that the most important thing that the Torah can give us is to make us face moral choices. Make us face and decide what is right and what is wrong, what is good, what is evil. So the Torah doesn't make blanket statements that Esau is an evil person. He's not. He has potential, just like everyone else, at least that the Torah doesn't say openly that he's evil. And there's almost no one that it says that about. So Isaac's natural choice to be able to change reality the way that he wants to is Esau. He's the one who understands reality. He's the one who can dig wells, as it were. He understands Isaac's might, his power, his strength. He's the one who's going to carry it. And Jacob looks like someone who's too spiritual, who doesn't get it yet. And it's true, he really didn't get it. He didn't get married until he was 86. Actually, until he was 93. He's not one of these people that really gets it. It takes him a much, much longer time. But there's something even deeper, and we'll discuss some more of it tomorrow, God willing. And that is that Isaac is the Mashiach now type of personality. And that means he wants a knockout punch. He cannot stand that reality is concealing God. And as far as Isaac is concerned, there is actually the only thing that will work here is if Esau comes with all his might, all his strength, and knocks reality out. And that's what he's looking for. It's a type of approach that is all or nothing. And that's what Isaac is looking for, and he finds that in Esau, and that's who he goes for. But, as we'll see tomorrow, because Rebecca knows better, why does she know better? Because she's lived in reality. She grew up with the people who understand reality better than anyone else. And she left it because she saw that that was not the road to bring godliness into the world. It can't be done in one generation. It's not that simple. And that's what we'll talk about, God willing, tomorrow, and wrap up our discussions of Parashat Toldot for this year. Thanks for joining. Hope to see you tomorrow.